I really do.
The guy's a career politician, man.
Yeah, I know.
He's been in government for
What
30
has he done, right? What has he done?
He's part of the problem while we're here.
Exactly.
This mess.
My voice has been like scratchy the last couple of weeks.
Oh no, COVID, buddy.
Marcus is watching. Hey, Marcus.
This is George and good buddy at Remembering the Future. You can find us every Monday, 4 to 6 p.m. on WRFZ LP, Rochester, 106.3 FM, and streaming on the internet. In this age of division over the color of the sky, don't be fooled by Russian and Bosgos. We at Remembering the Future, every Monday, 4 to 6 p.m. on W.
Hi, this is Dave Pauls from the Fresh Tunes Music Show. If you enjoy my show or any other at WRFZ, please donate to our Patreon account. Simply go on our website, rochesterfreeradio.com, and click on the big orange button. If all of our great listeners gave just a couple of bucks a month, it would help us to keep the music and talk flowing. We thank you for your support for 106.3 FM.
Streaming worldwide on RochesterFreeRadio.com and on the TuneIn Radio app. WRFZ LP, Rochester, 106.3 FM.
Hey guys, it's Brian, your host, here at The Divide every Monday at 3 p.m., where we try to have an anti-woke forum and talk about some of the common sense issues that aren't so common sense right now. I have a guest with me today. He is running for state senate, and he was he's a retired police chief of Gates, of the town of Gates, and I'm sure you've seen him around. He's around always. It's Chief James VANBREDERODE. How you doing?
Good, and thank you for having me. It's great to be here today.
Always. You answered me very quick when I texted you. I couldn't believe it.
Well, you're a great guy. You got a great radio show. You do.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, quickly, I just wanted to kind of go over some of these stats right now with the violence in Rochester before we get to some questions, because it's kind of leads into it. It's crazy. Right now we have 59 murders in Rochester. This was as of Sunday, so maybe there might be more. But that pace, they said that pace is great, is going to beat last year if it continues, which was a record year of 81, which is crazy. And I always talk about how the city of Austin, Texas had a record year as well, and they were in the 80s, 82, I believe. They were going crazy, but they have 1 million people.
I know.
Yeah, we have 200,000. It's insane. It's insane. And I looked around last week. I was comparing cities that were around the same size, like Boise, Idaho, and things like that. And I was just in disbelief. I mean, we're talking single-digit numbers of murders for the whole year in some of these cities that are the same as ours. Lexington, Kentucky, which is a little bit bigger than ours, they had a record year for murders too, and there was 35. It was,
I know.
It's insane. But it really bothers me when you see a 16-year-old. His life just comes to an end. For what? For what?
Sad.
For because you got into an argument at the park? It's just ridiculous. I mean, it just seems to me that people are too quick to pull a gun to solve their problems now, or stab you, or whatever. It used to be you argued, if you got into a fight, you got into a fight, but no longer. And it's, some of this violence we're seeing spread out to the suburbs. It's not just limited to the city. We're seeing carjackings in places like Hilton, Gates, in Crease Ridge Mall. So it's
all over Monroe County, absolutely.
So it's an issue. That's the thing. It's an issue for everyone right now. It's not just, okay, well, if I stay out of the inner city, I'm okay. It's like, people are worried. There was a home invasion in Henrietta, like a block from my parents' house.
Wow.
And I mean, they couldn't believe it. They're like, are you serious? A home invasion at 2 a.m.? This stuff didn't happen before, and there's reasons for it, and we'll get into that. But you know, we, like I said, we have the highest murder rate in the United States. That's not something to be proud of at all. We have more murders. We had more murders last year than cities that had a million plus people all over the nation. So we're not seeing this, you know, trend differently, trend back the other way. Yet we're taking guns off the street, but we're putting people who have those guns right back out on the street. And you know, I want to get into to some questions with the chief here, so he can kind of explain like you could explain the bail reform law if you could.
So the bail reform originated out of Long Island, Rikers Island, the city jail down there. Apparently, you know, there had been 1 or 2 cases where somebody on a low-level offense actually spent a long time in jail. I don't know, a year, less than a year. But that alone should bring a lot of red flags. How does that even happen with when you have an attorney assigned to a case?
Yeah.
That would never happen in Monroe County.
No way.
I'm not sure how this even happened down there. So let's assume, you know, it did happen, okay? But was it necessary to change the bail laws, or do you have a judge problem, right? Do you need to change a law where you say, hey, you know, if someone's in jail less than $500 and 2 days later you're still there, you have a right to a hearing within 2 days.
Do you have a system problem when it comes to the actual system itself to make sure it's followed correctly instead of
absolutely. And no, but instead, you know, it came out of Long Island. No, we're gonna eliminate bail, and they sold it to us. This is what happens, right? First of all, let me be clear with your listeners. I had no intentions of running, okay? Mm-hmm. This was never on my bucket list. I was going to look forward to retiring, but I got to be honest with you, after 37 years of protecting the streets of our community, it's kind of like they poked the bear, you know?
Yeah.
I couldn't just go away after 37 years of doing a great job and seeing our communities thrive to have this crap go on.
Yeah.
And it's all about this one party supermajority rule. So
exactly.
Somebody comes up with this great idea. They got the supermajority. There's no conversations or people in the room, stakeholders, and they pass the law. And then we figure out after it's passed how this is all going to be implemented, or what are the unintended consequences that we didn't know about. In this case, there were consequences that we warned them about and said, you know, this may not be a good idea.
Right.
They didn't. Well, look, and that's the problem with our government right now. We have a one-party rule, supermajority. So they went and passed this thing, and then they even lied to all of us. They said, look, this is just for petty, low-level offenses, right? And then you find out it covers like 70 crimes, you know, from shooting people.
Pages and pages. I printed it out one day. I couldn't believe it.
Lots and lots of felonies are in there, okay? Which I thought this was for the stealing at the local retail store.
You're getting caught with marijuana before it was, you know.
Right. Like, you know what I mean? Really. You know, I mean, and we agree. Hey, look at, you know, those offenses.
Of course.
Whatever, you know, go ahead and do that. But no, of course, it came out to all these major felonies were all tied in there. So there was a lot of deception that went on when they passed that thing. And then, of course, we've all seen the stories. We've heard the stories of somebody being out on bail or no bail, and then they've reoffended. Now, well, let's take a step back. It's not just bail reform, right? This whole criminal justice reform, you know, probably around 2018 when they decided they were going to redo the juvenile justice system, because New York was one of 6 or 7 states that hadn't raised the age to 17, 18 to be an adult. So we started with that one, right? And we saw the product of that last week, right? Went over on Judson Street, the 14-year-old shoots the 15-year-old with a shotgun. The 15-year-old still in ICU. And the 14-year-old paperwork was completed by the policeman, and then they take him home. I mean, that's
unreal.
It's unreal.
It's just common sense, but it just blows your mind. Like that can even happen.
Yeah, and you know, we're not trying to be like, you know, throw everybody in jail.
No, absolutely not.
But you also have concerns about the kid that did it, right? I mean, you want to make, you know,
like why did he feel a gun was necessary to solve that problem? Let's get some answers on that.
Yeah, you really want to help him. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just sending him home, putting him back in that environment that he came from, but obviously didn't work. I'm not sure how this helps any of us, the youth or us as a society.
No.
So you know, it's raised the age, it's the bail reform, it's the discovery law when it comes to the district attorney's office and all that stuff. And then you have the parole, of course, which is a big pet peeve of mine when I was the chief, that less is more, where really you come out on parole, they say, okay, here are the rules, But if you don't violate, if you don't follow them, don't worry. We're not going to reincarcerate you.
Yeah, they used to put. I mean, they used to. If you broke the rules, you were going back. As long as it wasn't just a process thing or something. But I mean, it's
Right.
now it's like, I mean, it's insane some of the things that get done, and they're like, no, we're not gonna bother putting them back in for this, violating them.
Right. So what you have today in 2022 is a tsunami of all of this, and you know they say, well, you know, violence is all over the country right now. Well, you're right, it is, because a lot of states are all doing what New York did. You
Yes.
know, when you look at, I went and studied Massachusetts after Officer Mazurkowitz was killed to see how that guy was out or what happened. Look at Massachusetts was in lockstep with New York back in 2018. They did pretty much everything that we've done. So,
Wow.
and it's not just them. All these states
Yeah.
have all bought into this really progressive thinking on criminal justice reforms, and so yeah, of course you do have violence all over the country because every state's doing what New York is doing, and
Yeah.
New York is copying what they did. So, but and that's why I'm running. I think we need to change this, and I am willing to be that candidate to go to Albany and go back to some just common sense. What would your mother do? What would
Yes.
your mother say? Common sense, get back to grassroots, how our society should live, and what we should be funding and what we shouldn't be funding, and laws and stuff like that.
Well, when you saw something, you changed the law because of a couple instances, but now you're seeing, you know, just ridiculous amounts of different instances, and you're not willing to change it. It just makes no sense. It's like they kind of only see what they want to see, and it's numbers matter only when it's in our favor. It's
Right.
it's insane. But yeah, I had that down here to talk to you about all the different laws and how, you know, since I knew I had 2019, but I guess since 2018, it seems like all the laws have favored criminals and handcuffed police officers, judges, and the DAs, and people who, I mean, witnesses are scared to come forward because they're afraid the guy's going to be out the next day and their name's going to get, you know,
Sure.
it's insane.
Yeah, and you know, it was really suffering too in this mess. It was caught in the middle of this domestic violence, right?
Mhm.
This whole domestic violence thing's been tossed out the window. You know, for 20 years we made progress, you know, getting laws in place. We could hold an abuser in custody, and now it's all been wiped out with this stuff. And so, you know, when the police go and the husband assaulted the wife, it's a parent's ticket, and you know, an order of protection doesn't stop bullets. It doesn't stop.
No,
guns.
it's a piece of paper.
It's a piece of paper, and really, you know, it's made it a lot more challenging with domestic violence cases and how you're going to keep the victim safe.
Yeah.
And the kids.
I mean, the jail's empty, pretty much. I mean,
We've closed Henrietta.
Yeah.
You know? It's
I mean, you had multiple dorms there full of people. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's 6 dorms there or something,
Yeah.
counting like the back ones. And now there's just none. They don't need it anymore.
left. And, look, unfortunately, they're not holding you until you've already done the bad, evil deed.
That's what I said. I
That's
was
what's sad.
saying last week. I said, you know, you get caught with an illegal gun, they take your gun, put you back out. You get another one. Get caught, put you back out. Get caught, put you back out. Then you shoot somebody. Maybe kill them, maybe don't. But either way, then they can hold you. Then they can hold you.
Yeah,
But
it's
look
too
what
late.
happened leading up to that. You could have stopped this a long time ago, and it didn't.
And then they put that nice little word in front of all this. They say restorative. You know.
Yes.
That's the key word right now. Restorative and equity. And,
Yeah.
So that's what this is all about
And
right now.
and it's really just, I mean, the more and more I talk to people, I was at the casino the other day in the Finger Lakes one, and I was out back with them talking to an older gentleman, a black guy. He's like, you know, he goes, this, I live on Genesee Park Boulevard. He goes, and it's beautiful there because we want the police there. They patrol our neighborhood. He goes, keep them, you know, we try to keep the criminals over on Thursday. And he's cracking me up, but he goes, we love the police. He goes, I don't know why. He goes, no one on my street didn't want more police. And he said things need to change. He said this bail reform law is ridiculous. He said the things that these politicians are saying are ridiculous. He goes, it's not indicative of how we feel. He said they try to speak for us. He goes, that's not how I feel. And I said, you know, remember that in November. And he said, yeah, I talk all the time to people. He goes, changes, and he said what I wrote down. He says, you know, nothing's going to change, you know, if nothing changes. It's that simple. And it was a great conversation. I sat there for 20 minutes talking to him, and he said, we can keep places. If the police have the tools, we can clean the city up.
Absolutely.
He said, because they can. It's just, but when there's no penalties, then they're not scared to commit a crime. Why not commit a crime if that's what you do? You know, it's something easy to do.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. The 19th Ward has just paid the price for a lot of this stuff in the last 10 days. They had the Congress Avenue. That was an outright execution. Like you shoot somebody in a car like that with a 10-year-old.
Yeah, there was a man, a woman, and a 10-year-old, right?
Yeah, I mean that was Congress Avenue. It's a beautiful neighborhood over there, and then of course they just had Kenwood over the weekend here.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean crime is all over the place, and it has no boundaries because of the cars and the mobile society that we live in.
You guys last year in Gates had that the carjacking.
Yeah,
murder.
Richard Shawshaw lost his life right on Buell Road on the main streets going right to the airport by two 16-year-olds at 11 a.m. on a beautiful sunny day.
Two 16-year-olds. Wow. Like I mean, what's going on in these kids' heads or at home? That they feel it's necessary to go do something like that. It baffles my mind. It starts a lot with Ron DeSantis down in Florida and Tony Dungy came up with they have a bill that just got implemented, preaching and basically ensuring that kids who don't have fathers in homes have mentors to go to instead of the streets and the gangs, because they found out that fathers in homes seem to be the #1 indicator for future failure in a lot of different categories. So it's something I think we should really focus on. I mean, the left's always talking about root causes. Well, there you go. There's a root cause right there. I mean, that's as rude as it gets.
Yeah. And it's just as upsetting with those kids were gone wild. We get that. But what's even more disturbing is the lack of a system that was in place to even know where those kids are. Those kids were on a crime spree that lasted at one point they ended up in Florida. And this thing went on for over a month.
Wow.
And then just leading up to the Gates murder, they took a shot at a resident over in Greece. They took a shot at somebody over in Ogden. But you say, where are the parents? Where was the school district? What safety nets were in place to say, hey, where are these kids?
Yeah, to make a phone call to the police department. Hey, there's a couple kids that are around. What's going on here?
Yeah, and that's what's scary is like this. There's no accountability where these kids are and who's watching them. And again, you look at the weekend shooting. It's 2:00 in the morning. I tell you what, my parents knew where I was. And, and now I look back and I'm so thankful they set rules, they set boundaries for us, because we all would have went crazy.
Well, I always say, I'm like, I when I was that age, when I was 15 years old, 14 years old, if I had a gun, I'd be more scared of what my dad and mom were going to do to me than the police. That wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to a few questions here. How do you differ from your opponent, Jeremy Cooney?
So like, obviously, we're on opposite ends of the spectrum here as far as his belief on what the criminal justice system should look like versus I believe in some restorative justice. I am not a just lock them all up. In fact, I was very outspoken over in the Gates with the opioid epidemic.
Yes, yep.
And making sure people, I felt bad because a lot of these crimes that we see every day is somebody chasing the next bag of heroin.
Yep.
The next bag. And you know what? I would love nothing more than to get them clean and to get them set straight than to just keep locking them up. So look, I'm into some restorative justice. However, you got to have some common sense.
Exactly.
There are some people that works for, and there's other people you say, I would never trust my life with this guy.
Yeah, right.
Just some common sense, guardrails, which ones you should do and not do. But unfortunately, these laws were just sweeping, and everybody gets restorative justice no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what you do.
Yeah, there's no common sense.
It's kind of just been a blanket program now, so.
Yeah. And of course, look, we differ on lots of other things. He's very left to the left. This marijuana thing has really turned into a debacle here. Yeah. We're over a year into it, legalizing it, and once again, in typical Albany fashion, we put the cart before the horse, right? They go and they pass this thing before we have any system in place.
Right.
How we're going to open up stores, what enforcement is going to look like, testing devices, driving offenses. And now, we're having problems with gummy bears and kids bringing them to our schools, little kids eating them.
Yeah, you couldn't see that coming, right?
Yeah, this is unintended, right?
Yeah, right.
You put marijuana in gummy bears,
right.
Kids are going to eat them.
What do you think was going to happen?
And, we got a lot of stuff going on now because of all this, I wasn't a big fan of it, but it was what people wanted, and they legalized it, but they just did it backwards, They did it backwards, and think about this. For the last year and a half, it's been legal, and where do you think everyone's been buying it, right? They've been buying it out on the streets.
Yeah,
The black
yeah.
market, you just made them all millionaires. And then as far as who we're going to give the first 100 license to,
Yeah, you see,
know,
I mean, that's
not
odd,
right.
but
It's too bad, because you know what? There's a lot of legitimate store owners out there that ran those hydrophonic stores.
yep.
Vaping stores that wanted to go the next step and become, marijuana distributors.
But they didn't get in trouble.
But now they can't, right? Because we're gonna take the former felon who now had his record erased.
When I heard that, I thought I read it wrong. I was like, wait, it was still, they still broke the law back then. It was still a law back then, and you broke it. So, but,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make you a hero,
Yeah.
we can't pick and choose what's laws. But anyway, it's just the thought process of some of the Democrats versus what I would say. I just don't believe in their thought process of how
Yeah.
we're doing a lot of this stuff.
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate how this is all playing out, but we're paying the price for it now too.
What's unfortunate is that there is middle ground, and there used to be some sort of conversation that took place, some sort of debate. Debate is healthy, but nobody wants to debate anymore because, oh no, they just get mad and scream and yell. It's like, how about, I always say policy at any level, written on a partisan, like bipartisan people, bipartisan members, and not bipartisan, is policy that's going to fail. Bipartisan policy is policy that's going to,
Right. It's been vetted
continue.
out, and
Yes,
right now we don't have
because
it.
someday the other party's going to be in control, and they're just going to take that partisan policy that was written by the left, and they're going to change it, or that was written by the right, and they're going to change it. It's like, it really matters that much that you get this done for 2 years. How about you write something? You sit together, you write some bipartisan policies, and it's like, but I really feel like, especially in New York, they've just got so much control. One party. It's like they won't even listen to that. I mean, that's not even an option right now. So
No, it's not. And there's a lot of in-house fighting. I mean, Sheriff Baxter's a Democrat. He really has been working hard as a fellow Democrat to try to talk to them, and they won't even listen to
Nah.
them.
I don't think they really consider him a Democrat.
They
when he
don't
goes in
care,
there.
and they don't need it. They don't need anybody. They have the supermajority, and
Yeah.
so there's no reason to talk, because they're just going to ram it through no matter what.
Yeah.
Whatever their agenda is, they're going to ram it through. And trust me, there's more stuff coming.
Oh, I know.
If they
Yeah.
win in November, there's more. Some of this.
There's really only one way to do this, and that's even it out at least. At least we gotta. I mean, there's got to be enough.
A balance of power.
Yes, exactly. There's got to be a balance of power. I'm totally not for, an all right government either.
Absolutely
I
not.
think there always should be a balance of power. Just because I believe something doesn't mean 50% of the country is going to believe it, and to them it's not right. What I think. So, in order to keep that straight and keep that balanced, we need a government that has checks and balances, that has multiple parties with members. It's just. I'm not for any kind of government that's ruled by one party. I just don't like it.
And it's not democracy. What we have right now is not democracy.
No, I mean, and unfortunately, it seems like the right is a threat to democracy. So,
Yeah. Unfair. We label everybody,
talk about divisive. Last time I looked, I have never been a domestic terrorist and never will be.
You don't look like one.
Yeah, I'm not an extremist, I promise. And I try to use common sense. I mean, there's issues that I'm very in the middle on. There's a couple issues I'm even probably over the border to the left. It's just my majority of, thoughts, process, and ideology comes from the right. It's just I'm a conservative at heart, and that's how it is.
Absolutely, and it doesn't make any of us a bad people.
No.
Right now, I think you have a party that they're drunk on power right now,
And I think they
watch
see
out.
that they have to have some kind of extreme angle to go into November with, because they really can't boast their policies right now because
No.
they're not working. So it's it just is. So how do you win this? How do you break up the? Where's your territory, first of all?
Yeah, so, well, first of all, you know how that redistricting became a fiasco, right?
Yeah.
They voted for this independent commission to draw the lines to take the politics out of it, you know, and so they did. So that was one set, but then the Democrats, again, who hold the majorities, there was a clause in there to overrule it. They overruled it, we're going to draw them, and then they drew them, and then the Republicans challenged it in court, and the court agreed that they were gerrymandering the
Yeah,
districts.
that got upheld, right?
Yeah, so then the court went and drew the district. So right now I have the entire west side of the city, everything west of the Genesee River.
Okay.
And then I have the towns of Gates, Greece, Brighton, and Henrietta. So four
Good.
towns, and the west side of the city. So it's about 300,000 population over there.
Okay.
That's mostly Democrats, you know. The
Of course.
Democrats,
I mean, that's going to be something you and Chief Singletary and Marcus Williams, you're going to all have to deal with that. It's going to be a Democratic majority because mainly the city areas. But what message are you guys going into the inner city? People, I mean, those people they're sick of it. They're sick of the crime. They're sick of things like that. They want change. So what are you saying to them?
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I don't care who you are. Nobody wants this in their neighborhood. Nobody, okay? And you're absolutely right. When you go out and talk to people, nobody's saying get these police cars out of
No,
the neighborhood.
not at all.
Everybody's saying just the opposite.
This has to stop. They're saying this violence. That's all I hear.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
So really, the more left they go, the more they get on TV and talk about, let's reduce the RPD, the homicide, let's defund, let's keep all this stuff. I think is just making people appreciate the fresh message when we go to the door.
Yep.
And it's not about, at this point, it's not about politics. It's not about Republican or Democrat. It's about who's going to fix this.
Exactly.
I don't care what party you're from. I just need to get somebody in here that's going to help fix this. And that's really why right now I think like myself and LaRon, being the two former police chiefs, we need some people with expertise in crisis management.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so I think the time is right now. And that's exactly why I'm running, by the way, because this is the immediate crisis. And it impacts everything else, the schools, it impacts the economic development, as you saw. Bob Duffy came out this week.
Yeah, that was big.
Stepped up and said, hey, you know what, this isn't good for the chamber.
I mean,
people,
we all knew it, but we needed him to say that.
right,
So,
we need people to get up and say something. And so, so when I go door to door, a lot of this is trust. The good news is when I go to a door, a lot of people automatically say, I know you, I've seen you on TV, you were the chief that was always on TV. So developing that trust and people believing in you is huge. And again, getting out and personally touching people is the big part of this campaign.
Yeah, I always say the same thing. I'm like, it's going to be the biggest thing because there's a lot of voters in the city area, in the inner city, in the city limits, that when they get to that booth, they're so used to just pulling Democrat. It's like how do we stop that? How do we get that habit away from them? You don't have to vote Democrat. There's nobody that's looking over your shoulder to say you better vote Democrat or you're out of the club.
And that's actually, I give Marcus Williams credit.
Yeah.
He came up with the slogan "Vote Different." Trying
vote
to
Roe B. I always see it.
Yeah, vote different, vote Roe B. To break that mindset of people that do just go in and vote the party line. No, I've always voted for the person. I've never been that one that walks in there and just voted down the party line. It's all about the person, I believe. And that's what we're running on. It's the person. Don't worry about the politics of this. What does LaRon stand for? What does Chief Jim stand for?
Exactly.
And you trust us going to Albany, going to Washington, and doing what's right for the residents of our districts.
Yeah, that's awesome because that's the message that'll win. That's a winning message. Hopefully, it's the kitchen table issues that need to be talked about. It's the things that matter. It's not. They're slamming home the abortion issue. They're slamming that home. It's something that they think they can win on, and of course, as it gets closer, they're starting to play. The right is racist. The right is racist. Pretty tough to play that against LaRon Singletary and stuff because it doesn't really work. So, but that's just the card they're going to play. And will people listen to it? I'm sure there'll be some people listen to it, but I don't think they care much right now about that. I think they're like, all right, stop that. That's enough of that. We need to talk about the real issues right now.
Right.
I think there's bigger things going on.
Brian, I really appreciate you right now because I was on the Evan Dawson show and I said, Evan wanted to go down this rabbit hole about abortion. I said, Evan, you're sitting here talking about abortion right now. You know what the issue is right now? And I literally the day before your show, somebody got shot in downtown Rochester at 12 o'clock. Forget the abortion issue. We got people being shot in broad daylight, 12 in the afternoon on Andrew Street. That's the issue.
Middle of the day, you got drugs fentanyl being dealt on every corner as you go down Clinton. I mean, there's
that's
big
a whole
things.
Stuff, but the deaths continue to come in left and right. That whole fentanyl problem's been pushed on the back door.
It has been
really
pushed, but it hasn't gone away. It's just been pushed on the back burner. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's still there, and it's still taking a lot of lives. I'm a bagpiper, right? It's a long story, but I play the bagpipes, and I get a lot of calls from funeral homes, to do funerals. I literally Saturday morning I did one. The person was 40 years old. Middle-aged, had a heroin problem, dead from fentanyl.
Wow.
It's still alive and out there, but it doesn't make the news.
No, it's not. It's not something that's sexy enough to make the news and stuff like that.
So the other thing that's going to win this race, and I was on the Bob Lansbury show today, and I said the difference is LaRon and I. Look, we came out of the trenches, between the two of us, we got 60 years of pushing the blue and white around, responding to those 911 calls for the suicide, the overdose, the family problem, the murder. We've seen it, okay?
Yeah,
I know what a gunshot to the face looks like. What I heard this morning, one of the 16-year-old took a shot to the face. Oh, God. It's devastating.
It's not like the movies. It's a lot different.
But because we got that experience, I think we look at things differently, When I see some of these assembly people and senators, I saw them out all weekend at these 9/11 events, and I just sat there looking at them thinking, how do they get up every day and not feel like there's some responsibility in what they've done to create this mayhem? The 16-year-old taking a shot to the face. Yeah, that's a lifetime injury.
Yeah, that's not going away.
No, and so I think when you look at us, we came from the trenches. We've seen it. We've done it. We've held the hands of victims and people who have lost their loved ones to violence and all this stuff. And so I think our hearts, our passion is a little more real and in-depth than a lot of these political people we have right now.
I think that the Democratic candidates, they're going to spend a lot of money. They're getting a lot of money. They spend a lot of money. They're going to run attack ads, things like that. But the truth is the truth, and the issues are the issues, and it's. If you run on the issues and you're not all about just, defending every little thing they say, just go with the issues. I believe that is the best, and I think crime is definitely by far the number one issue. You're seeing, the other thing, Bob Lansbury actually said this. He said that if you can look at the Twitter and Facebook accounts of LaRon Singletary and then contrast that with Morelli. He said, just look how hard that man works. He said, LaRon is out there daily. He said, and people love him. He said, they love him. They're smiling. They're happy to see him. You tell someone LaRon Singletary's coming in, people are running to go see him. He said, do you see that excitement with Joe Morelli? Not to insult him, but you just don't. It's...
Yeah. And look at the people that we're talking about that are running to LaRon. It's everyday Joe American.
Yeah, exactly.
The high rollers that live in the big houses on the east side.
It's people of every color, every sexual preference, every walk of life. It's
yes. He relates to everybody, and that's huge.
And he's well spoken, and he's got that message out there. The insane message. Doing the same thing over and over again, and expecting different results. It's insanity. I've heard him say it a bunch of times. But he's correct. Since '87, this city's been dominated by Democrats, and we've seen a constant decline. If you look, he's got one thing going for him. It just came out that our congressional district is the second worst district for a Black American to grow up in, and they took into account education, home ownership, job, wage, salary, unemployment, things like that, a bunch of different things. The only one worse than this one is what's her name? Ilhan Omar in Minnesota, Minneapolis. It's the only one worse.
Wow.
And it's like, you don't get there in a day. You don't get that bad in a day. You got to work hard to get there.
And what party got us there is what you got to look at.
Exactly.
Who were the players? Like a Joe Morelli was in the New York State Assembly for years. Career politicians.
Yep.
and now they want to fix it.
Yeah.
So you're kind of suspicious.
It's just, yeah, exactly. Has your, you ask the people, has your life gotten better? Has your life gotten better? And it's not about equity. It's about allowing them to see the opportunity that exists. Allowing people in such areas to see opportunity is much, it's going to be, for the long haul, it's going to be much better than, equity. Just it's the left's message is to hand stuff out. It's something that doesn't work. We've proven over and over again it doesn't work.
And one last point I try to tell people is, LaRon and I have already had a career, right? We already have our pensions from New York State. My opponent, I think, has a lot of more years he's got to get into the pension system before he qualifies.
Yeah.
And so I think that alone, hanging over your head, makes you make decisions based on re-elections versus if I get booted out in 2 years, I don't need to put 5 more years into
Yeah.
New York City. But so you make decisions based on what's right and wrong, and not worry about whether I'm going to get reelected or not. And I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah, that's huge. You're here for
the right reason.
Exactly.
I'm not here because I need 10 more years in the New York State retirement system. Neither is LaRon.
No, definitely not.
You know.
And I wonder how, if it, LaRon to come back here and do this I think it's just an awesome thing. It's basically, he's such a stand-up guy, and for them to make him out to be something he's not is just it's insanity, because people see him and they're just like, no.
Sure.
You're making so. Now has your opponent attacked you at all?
He did one attack mailing that he put out to his fundraiser, and he called me a radical. I was gonna go. I truly believe the nurses that all lost their jobs for not getting the vaccination should, if we win, should get their jobs back.
Absolutely.
So I went down there to support them one night, and of course Shannon Joy was coming too, and he automatically just attached Shannon Joy. It's like everyone calls, oh, you're a Republican, then you're a Trumpster.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, you're a Republican in Monroe County, then you're with Shannon Joy.
Yeah.
You see how this connection? And then you're a radical, right?
Well, I think they've gotten that. That's the message they're trying to send to everyone. I saw that Lee Zeldin's a radical, LaRon's a radical, you're a radical, Marcus is a radical, you're all extremists, and it's like, and I'm like, if you know the Chiefs, they're the farthest thing from radicals or extremists you'll ever meet in your life.
We would never survive 37 years. If I was a radical,
right?
How did I survive 37 years
in a suburb police department? Radical, right?
They would have chased me out of town.
No kidding. Yeah, right.
Oh,
a radical. I just think it's a message that's not going to land. It hasn't landed with most people, and I don't think it will. But it's the message that they're going with. So
sure. It's a Hail Mary, punch, and that's what they're trying.
Exactly. So have you seen any poll numbers yet?
There was Albany, the Senate in Albany did do a polling about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it showed us ahead in the poll. And,
wow.
And again, that was 3 or 4 weeks ago. That can change.
Mm-hmm.
But we still have a long way to go. We're working hard, and you try not to get caught up in polls. We've seen what happens. Sometimes those are totally wrong.
Yeah, and sometimes they shift 22 points in 3 days.
In 3 days, But the bottom line is, I'm not getting. Here's the thing: when I go door to door, there's not too many people that are yelling at me to get off the property. So that's the biggest poll.
That's
right?
a real good thing.
Nobody's sending their dog at me, or
you're not seeing the business end of too many shotguns.
That's radical, right? I think people would be like sending their dogs at me.
Right? You show up with a big posse and everything. You're radical.
Yeah. So things are going really good, and I've enjoyed getting to meet so many nice people, so many new friends, and most everyone's all thinking the same thing. When's enough with gas and inflation and crime, and what's going on with the school and what's being taught, and just crazy stuff is coming out of Albany and Washington.
Well, the one more thing I wanted to ask you was the gun laws. Is it not crazy to you that how dare you win a Supreme Court case? It's like you win a Supreme Court case, and it's like they're almost like basically, screw the Supreme Court. We're gonna make it tougher now. And it's insane. It's insane to me that they get that's something. Now I think eventually these will get overturned, but it's gonna be a while. We're stuck with them.
And that exemplifies exactly the arrogance, and when you start total power totally corrupts. That's what's happening,
Yep.
right? That was pure vindictiveness, and to go and call this an emergency session 4 days before the 4th of July, the biggest holiday of the year, and you go behind closed doors with no stakeholders there, and you craft these laws, and they come out, these gun control laws, and now you have your Democratic county clerk, your Democratic sheriff, and they're all scratching their head. How do we even implement these?
Right.
And nobody bothered to ask us.
Another policy that got implemented before they had that system.
Absolutely, typical. And of course everybody knows in law enforcement and most citizens realize that this is not going to stop tonight's shooting on the streets of Rochester.
I mean,
I can assure you that.
I can't believe that hasn't been. I can't believe that more people don't just realize that. It's common sense these days that no criminal that's going to shoot someone tonight is going into Average Joe's in Henrietta to buy a gun today. A legal gun, and they're not going to go out and it doesn't happen like that.
This was vindictiveness. And this was a punch to the Republican Party, to the Supreme Court. Yeah, watch this.
Exactly.
This is what we can do in New York because we have the supermajority.
It's like a punch in the gut, though. I know there was a lot of gun owners who were very happy with the Supreme Court decision, and then it's just like the air gets let out. It's like, man, it's made people want to leave. I know a couple that took their kids and they went off to Florida after that because they were like, this is deflating. It's too much now. They're just really just hammering anybody who doesn't love their progressive message. They're hammering down to the ground, and it's not just conservative. It's anybody who doesn't love that message. It's get out of here. I mean, she even said, Kathy Hochul said, leave. Basically, told Republicans to leave the other day.
And if this doesn't motivate people to get out and vote, now a typical year like this without the president might be 30%. I mean, come on, right?
Yeah.
If you don't take the time to go out and vote, this is the Super Bowl of elections. Right?
Yeah, I think we're gonna see a good turnout this year.
We're at a crossroads. If they continue to win, then that ship is going down. There's more to come. So if this doesn't motivate people to get out and say, you know what, it's time to fire them all and try a new group of employees, I don't know what will. And so, we're also kind of riding that tidal wave that I think things have gone so extreme, people have got to come out and vote.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that, and it should scare people. I think that if they somehow won, that you're going to see the filibuster gone. You're going to see the Supreme Court, packed, because if they manage to somehow take control completely of the Senate, if they manage to keep the House, we would see some real bad things. I think we got to take it nationally, and I think locally it's even more important here in New York because it's just, I mean, it doesn't matter what any federal election happens when we're just getting beaten down in New York by all these policies and this one party rule. So things definitely have to change around here.
Yeah, it's sad. It's when you look at the national level, right? The borders. I mean, oh my God! It's open season on the borders.
Yeah, that's
ethanol's
insane.
coming in from. It's just a big mess right now.
They showed the other day. They showed one of the cameras on Fox. They showed. They said we seized this today. This fentanyl today. It's enough to kill half the country. Then they panned over. They said this is enough to kill the other half of the country. This was seized yesterday.
So we're all dead.
Yeah, I was like, wow. And then now you got Governor Abbott sending these buses, and it's only a few buses it's been to like some of these cities, Washington and Chicago and New York, and the mayors just can't believe it. They want National Guard help. They're like, oh really? Imagine these little towns on the border when they get overran by a lot more than that. But it's funny when we're a sanctuary city, but not right now. You go to that sanctuary city.
And the funny part is we remember like 2 years ago when Trump was in office and all these mayors are pushing their chest out.
Yep.
We're a sanctuary city,
Yep.
and now you kind of pay the piper, and all of a sudden, I don't want to. I need help, Washington.
Oh, you gotta love it. It's like they wanted that. Let them go over. We're a sanctuary city, but can you go to that city for now? It's like, not here, but not here. Over there. Well, he's a sanctuary city, not here.
Oh my God, it's crazy. But people have got to step up and exercise their vote to right.
Yeah, that bottom line. That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
And what does Marcus say? Vote different, vote Roby.
Absolutely, that's it, man. Marcus is the man if he's out there.
Oh yeah, he was on a little bit ago. I think he's left a couple messages already. Yeah, he's writing something. Yep, he said Cooney did the emails calling you an extremist, so we already went over
There you
that.
go. Yes, he did.
An extremist.
You can't have this guy in office, that former chief. He's an extremist.
Wait, yeah, then they meet you in person. They're like, wait,
Yeah.
you know, where's your leather outfit and your your biker
Oh,
and your
my
biker
God.
helmet?
Spike on the helmet.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that, like I said, you don't want to ever get overconfident, but I really like the way things are trending. I just think the message has to stay consistent and honest, and that's the best way to do it, because you're never gonna say something stupid if you keep it honest and you keep it.
That's right.
Right now, the statistics, now I don't want to say favor the Republicans, because that's almost bad, because the statistics are bad. You know, with the amount of crime, it sucks. We don't want that. But it shows how poorly the current policies, you know, and the current systems are working. So there's only one way to make changes. You know, right now, laws don't matter to people because laws don't matter. So it's just, when laws don't matter, laws don't matter. You know, they always say that. So if you want change, if you want to see, you know, people being held who are caught with illegal guns, who are carjacked. I mean, we saw someone carjack 4 times. He was able to carjack and he still wasn't held.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. But you want to give a final message or anything?
I really admired for not being a conformist to the party is that city councilman Michael Patterson. I've never met the guy in life. I've only seen him on TV.
Yep.
But here's a gentleman who is passionate about the district that he covers, which is up in that northeast quadrant. And for him to...
Now, what is the Northeast Quadrant, just for people who don't know?
I think it's up in the Clinton Avenue area.
Yeah, it's ground zero, right?
Yeah, up in that area. And he has been very outspoken about getting his fellow Democrats, especially the state leaders, to fix these laws, stop what's happening. And he's screaming from the top of mountains as a fellow Democrat, stop, you're destroying my communities, you're destroying our people. These policies are not working, you know.
And that people don't want to listen.
And I admire him, because that's what a politician should be doing. You're representing your people.
Exactly.
And if your people are being slaughtered right now, and your streets look like crap up there.
Yeah.
You know.
There's people who've owned houses, you know, they're older for 40 years, and they're afraid to come out their front door.
Yeah. And so that's exactly what an elected official should be doing. And again, I've never met the guy, but I'm very proud of him. It's not about politics. It's about do our jobs as elected officials, as police chiefs, is to take care of public safety and to make sure our society runs properly. Schools are up and running. We're providing an education, and you can get there safely, and your neighborhoods are safe. And right now, they are not safe. And again, you look at that weekend murder, and you know Tom Ryan's name is on the side of that recreation center. You know, he was a mayor years ago. And he'd be rolling over in his grave, you know, to see what happened out there on the property. But the biggest message to take away, though, is, look, I don't care if you want to vote for me, you don't want to vote for me. Just get out and exercise your constitutional right to vote.
Yeah.
People have died for that opportunity for you to go into a poll and to cast a vote. That is so huge. Other countries don't even allow their people to do this.
Yeah, or they do and just don't really count them. So
Right. I mean, we have the best gift and system in the world, and people sit home complacent. I can't change nothing, or you know, I'm not going to be able to make a difference.
Well, you can, especially in the midterm elections and locally. You know, your vote definitely counts. People, every vote counts in these elections. So
they do, and you know, I just pray, just go out and vote. You know, no matter how you're going to vote, but just at least participate in the process. This is what that flag is all about, right here on November 8th.
Yep, I see it. One more thing, I see on my social media all the time, because I'll post something, and I see comments. You know, there'll be 50, 60, 100 comments, and almost every one of them, is complaining about the bail laws and things like that, about the crime. And I always say, you know, come November, if you don't vote to make a change, do not come back on and complain anymore
Complain.
because you might have voted wrong last time, but you have a chance to you got a reprieve here. So come on. But if you don't complain anymore
I know. So, you know what else is interesting as we go around and talk to a lot of people? You'll be surprised how many people aren't even registered to vote. It's
Wow.
really has been shocking, an eye opener. You know, I guess I just assumed, man, at 18, everybody.
Yeah,
you got your license, you got your voting. You know.
yeah, that's what I always thought.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I can vote now.
So for somebody who isn't registered to vote, how do they do that?
So, look, you can go to most all your town halls. The forms are usually around your town clerk's offices, the Board of Elections downtown. Or you can just go online, MonroeCounty.gov, Board of Elections. I'm sure you can do it all online too. And like, don't worry about parties. This isn't about whether you identify yourself as a Biden supporter or a Trump supporter. It's about you being a person and just.
And it's this election. It's for this election. If you vote for change this election, it doesn't mean if you're the party you're registered maybe goes back, it settles down, and it doesn't mean you can't still vote that party. It doesn't mean you can't vote 2 Democrats, 1 Republican this time. You can vote. It doesn't matter if you're registered a Democrat or if you're registered a Republican. You can cross party lines and vote the other way anytime you want. Nobody owns anybody, and nobody is looking over your shoulder. So it's just something to remember that I always. People think, well, I'm a Democrat, I have to vote Democrat. No, you don't. If you're a Republican, you don't have to vote Republican. You can vote any way you want.
That was an interesting statistic as I've been going out. Do you realize here in Monroe County there are 171,000 people who are registered blank, that they are not
really
part? People are not picking apart. That's a lot of voters who have registered. I don't want to be part of either party.
Yeah,
just let me go in and make my
well,
decisions.
they're probably sick of the nonsense from both sides, and ultimately, like you said, ultimately you represent your constituents. You represent the people in your district, and if you don't do what they want, I mean, you saw that up in with Liz Cheney. I'm not saying she's right or wrong, but I'm saying her constituents didn't want her to do that, and because she did, they voted her out.
Absolutely.
You see that you got to do what it's not for what you want to do. You might know what's right and know you might have more experience in some areas, but it's ultimately what they want.
Right.
It's ultimately, and it's when you go door to door, I'm sure you're doing more listening than talking.
And that's what you do. Look, you're there to represent them. They're the ones who are going to pick you, and you need to understand what their agenda is.
Yes.
And not to intervene your personal agenda.
Exactly how they feel. It's just so easy for you get some power, you get voted in, you think you got the power to do. I heard Kathy Hochul a couple months ago to say, I don't care what people think. I have the power to do this thing, and I couldn't believe she said that. I was like, are you kidding? You don't care what people think? You probably should care what people think.
That's such a bad perception of a
right?
politician.
This isn't a 5th grade talent contest. I don't care what they think. It's like
because the people think that's what all politicians are like, and really we're not.
Yeah.
Well, we really do care. Look at Laurent and I again. We've been public servants our whole life, and we really care about our communities. That's why we're here doing this, and we're just out there trying to just bring back some great stuff that we used to have in our neighborhoods and the economy and get things rolling.
Yeah, I met you about 5 or 6 years back, and I can tell everybody that's listening that I don't think you sleep, because you've been to. I saw you at events, over every day. I'd be there. And I'd be like, look at us, the chief again, the chief again, the chief again. You'd be at the overdose awareness event, and then you'd be at Gates to Recovery, then you'd be here, and it's like. You weren't working a 9-to-5 job where you punched in, when you're done, you're like, all right, I'm going home, sit around. You were constantly out in the community there, and one can only assume that it wouldn't change if you got elected here.
No, and look, when I became a public servant like that, look at, people want to see the top dog. They want to see the chief out.
Yeah.
Like, if you go to the Buffalo Bill Stadium, I don't want to see the third stringer, right? I want
to see Josh Allen.
I want to see Josh Allen. Yeah. Don't put the third stringer out there signing autographs.
Right.
And I really took that to heart as I went up the chain of command. I said, that's my job to be there. It's my job to get out there and be there.
Yeah.
Could have been very easy to go home and go to sleep early, but I always went out there because people want to see the person in charge.
Yeah, I remember not that long ago, right before you retired, I'm going down Buffalo Road, and I saw you pull into the police station. So I pulled in, rolled down my window as you were getting out of your vehicle and walked. He came over and had a 20-minute conversation with me. I told my dad that later that night. I told my dad, I'm like, the chief just, I'm sure he was trying to get us like 6 p.m. I'm sure he was ready to go home. So he had a 20-minute conversation with me there.
That's funny. I don't remember any of this, Brian, but
Well, that's because you do that with too many people. So.
I take your word for it.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll let you get out of here, everyone. This was retired Gates Police Chief James VANBREDERODE, who's running for state senate. He's running against Jeremy Cooney. He is on the conservative, Republican, and Independence lines. Independence line. So you heard his message. If you like the message, I hope you get out and vote. He's go to his website. What's your website?
VANBREDERODEforsenate.com. One word, VANBREDERODE for Senate.
Are you looking for volunteers and donations?
Yes, we are. Yep.
Yeah, so there you go.
Thank you.
Anytime people can donate times or donate is a good thing. So yes, like he says, get out and vote. Whether you're voting for him and Ron Singletary and Marcus Williams or you're not, just get out and vote. It's time to make sure that everybody gets out and exercises their God-given right of voting. And I'm glad we had you here today. You have a good message. I think personally, you're going to do well. But again, still got a couple months to go. So
yeah, and thank you for having me on, Brian. And it's a pleasure talking to all your listeners.
yeah, anytime. Hopefully, we can get you on again before Election Day.
Thank you.
At least one more time. But yeah, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Anything else you want to say?
No, I just want to wish everybody a great Monday. Tough weekend we just came off of the tragedies that are going on. But you know what? There's light at the end of the tunnel, and I really believe we can turn things around. And just keep moving forward, and everybody just needs to lead by example.
And your website one more time?
VANBREDERODEforsenate.com.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us today. And next week I'll be back every Monday at 3 p.m. And hope to have you with me. And have a good day. Thanks, guys.
So the show was called The Divide. No, what was the name of the show?
The Divide, yeah. The Divide. 3 p.m. I don't know where my song is. He usually has my song up here to play. Yeah, he has my song up here to play. I don't know where he is. Oh, there it is. Haha, let me get that.
It's music.
There we go. There's my music.
You know what the good news is? If we pull this off, dude, we'll be in here anytime you want.
That's perfect.
Like we do now. Hey, Jim, come on in.
That'd be great. That'd be
You're
great.
the same, Brian.
If I win, I'm fully gonna just come in here and say
Thanks, guys. So say goodbye to the guys there. Thanks, guys.